Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply, and this video is to bring you a closer look at the Global Door number TC302 full surface door closer. Yes, your first impression is going to be, boy, that's a tiny door closer. It is. It is a tiny door closer. It is meant for smaller, lighter doors. That's the bottom line, and would be very appropriate for an installation like that. So don't let the very small size perhaps turn you away from this as an option when it comes to a door closer for something that might be a hollow core door or a very small door that you do want to have a self-closing feature on. Perhaps maybe a janitorial closet in a restroom or retail application where you do just want that door to close, and you can get away with a small closer because it's maybe a 2-foot door, something in that range, or something very light, such as, again, a hollow core door, provided you can get this mounted to a hollow core door properly. Now, this is the body. This is a visual tour of the unit itself. You can see you've got 2 valves there, and we're going to go over that in a moment. It's completely non-handed and can be installed in any sort of orientation you like. Moving on, you've got the main arm. Then you've got the forearm. That all connects together like that as a standard door closer. You've got the optional parallel arm bracket. The client required the parallel arm for this installation. That would allow it to look like that. We're going to talk about what a parallel arm mount is in a few moments. You'll have the cap for the spindle side that you're not using. So if you're doing an installation, let's say regular arm, and this is the top, you'll snap that onto the bottom to close off or finish off the look of the installation. Okay. Bag of screws, obviously. Machine screws and wood screws you're going to get, depending on what you're installing to. And this will come with all the bolts required to get the body attached, to get the arm put down to the square stock, to get the arm attached to either the header or the door or the parallel arm bracket, and then the specialty bolt to hold this, I probably have already said that, onto the shaft here. Okay. Okay, now, there is a link below this video to the installation instructions that will allow you to review the approach to installing it. If you're not new to door closers, you're probably going to skip that because you know already how a surface mount closer that comes tri-packed will install. The only difference really here is you get a full-size template for the location of the holes, depending on the installation that you're doing, and of course, you know, the hand of the door as well. But this installation template is going to be for a regular arm, left or right hand application only. Okay. Let's talk about these installation instructions. Practically all installation instructions with surface mount door closers, these garden variety closers, whether or not it's the smaller model like this. And let's just talk about that quickly. Six and 3/8 is the dimension from the center line of these screws to the center line of these screws. That's very important, meaning if you're doing a replacement type installation, you're going to want to measure that first. Now, I'm verifying that 6 and 3/8 is accurate, and indeed it is. It's unlikely if you're doing a replacement that you have this door closer, only because it's unlikely, it's unusual. For every standard door closer that would be a real common one is 9 1/16 center. You're going to want to measure that first. You're going to want to look at the TC 201 closer from Global. That will be your 9 1/16 model. There are also sizes that are larger, like 8 3/16. There are sizes that are even larger than that, 11 1/8 perhaps. So if it's a replacement, start by measuring that center to center. The height, it's going to be 3/4 inch. Yes, it is. And that is very common indeed. 3/4 inch will be the height on the screws. But measure that center to center in the width. Now, for surface door closers like this, pretty much without exception, they're always going to include some common things. There'll be a list of the materials included. This doesn't really indicate that what you get with the door closer body. But again, it will be the body, it will be the main arm, the forearm, the cap, the parallel arm bracket, the bag of screws. You will always have 3 sections of installation approaches, meaning it's tri-packed, as I said earlier, meaning it can be installed in one of 3 ways, right out of the box. And it will handle every common way of installation. There will also be generally a guide in terms of adjusting the valves, and this one has 2 valves. We're going to talk about those more in a moment. And after that, there's really nothing. These closer instructions have that full-size template, which are very handy to use, there's no doubt. And let's start at the beginning. These closer instructions are linked below this video so that you can review them prior to doing anything, ordering it, reviewing it, or once you've got it and you want to go back and see it again, they're there. There are 3 methods. You've got a regular arm mount, you've got a top jam mount, and a parallel arm mount. The parallel arm mount will use the parallel arm bracket. The regular arm mount means that the door closer body is applied to the door itself and is mounted on the pull side. If that's your installation, it's called regular mount. The next common, not in sequence, is the parallel arm mount, where the closer body will be mounted on the door on the push side. That requires the inclusion of this bracket. Okay. The third option, which is very common in installations where you have aluminum storefront, outswinging door, and the door closer body is mounted to the header of the frame, and the arm is mounted down to the face of the door, always on the push side. So if it's a pull side mount installation, it's only regular arm. If it's push side mount, you have to decide parallel arm or top jam. The closer instructions are broken into those 3 sections because the dimensional properties of where you apply the door closer body and the arm will change as a result of where you're going to install it onto the opening. What is common amongst all of those installations is this: the degree of opening that you want to achieve, how far you want the door to open, is going to be related to how far from the hinge the door closer body starts. More specifically, the imaginary vertical axis of pivoting, if you were to imagine a vertical line going down through the center of all the hinge barrels, that's the vertical axis of pivoting. The installation instruction will always refer to that, at least in some fashion. You can see here at the bottom of my finger, actually maybe even better here, this table for opening to 105 degree, the dimension from the center of the hinge to the first set of holes is going to be that 3 31/32 of an inch. That's common. They're always going to be like that. The vertical part of the hinge to the first hole, regardless of the 3 mounting points that you're going to achieve, based on the degree of opening. I had a client very recently who said, I need all of this, but you have to promise me it'll go to 180 degree. Well, when you look at the installation instructions, this closer will very much accommodate an opening to 180 degree, meaning that door will open to 90, then go all the way back and be parallel with that wall. It'll do it. The only time it won't do it is if something is preventing it from happening, perhaps a wall is in the way. But if your door can be turned flush and parallel to the face of the wall, the closer will handle it. The point is this: the closer the body is, the closer the body is to the vertical axis of pivoting on the hinge, the further the degree of opening. So you'll notice in the template, if you're looking at it, or the installation instructions, when you want to go to, let's see here now. So again, the dimension from the edge of the door, the closer body itself to where the vertical axis is going to be directly related to the degree of opening. Talked about it being able to physically open all the way to 180 degrees. You wouldn't want to template it for such a large degree of opening if you're going to be physically restricted to, say, 105 degree or 110 degree. Template it for that, because you don't want the door to bang into whatever would be physically limiting it at that point. The crucial part is less the dimension horizontally. That's important, but not super crucial. If it's really wrong, you're going to know. If you've installed it at 12 inch over, you're going to know that right away. It's wrong. What is crucial is the vertical dimension. That has to be installed accurately. And the reason that this is so crucial is because you've got moving parts, and what you need to be able to make sure is that, and if you've ever walked through a door opening and you've heard a clanking sound when the door is halfway open, what you've got there is the door closer elbow section hitting the top of the door generally. And the first time I installed one, I was about 1/8 of an inch off, and it just barely clipped it. And I realized even all those years ago how crucial that vertical dimension is. So you're going to want to be sure that you've got them correct before you drill and install. Double check the dimensions is what I'm trying to say. And that is, of course, referred to like here. You've got over here where it's calling out that 2 1/16 dimension, and that's going to be a reference to that first hole there. Crucial. You want to get that right. There's no excuse to not get it right. You have to get it right, or the closer won't install correctly, or won't operate very, very well. The installation approach for the three methods is the same. How far over? Once you know the method, how far over based on the degree of opening, then follow the vertical dimensions and you're in good shape. After you have that all installed, you're going to want to refer to the section on the back that will talk about closing and closing speed and latching speed. So the diagram here, closing and latching speed. We also will call it latch, like 0 to 10 degree, and then sweep. We're calling it closing. Okay, I know it is sweep. From basically 80 degree or so, or 90 degree, down to 10, and then 10 to 0. Latch, and then sweep. The installation instructions tell you which is which. They are marked 1 and 2, right on the end of the cylinder. 1 is the closing speed, or sweep, and 2 is the latch. Why would you need to control it that way? Well, you don't need to. You can set those so that there's a smooth transition, but you might have an ambient environmental air pressure condition that you might want to give a little more resistance in the hydraulic assembly, because you know that you've got a possibility for a rear door to open when the front is opened, and then that air will race through and help push that door closed. So you might want to tighten that up. Or you might have a misfit, warped door or frame condition where you need to give that latching speed a little less resistance, opening up the valve to get it to bang, close, nice. Whatever the circumstances are. And also, what time of year is it? If you've got a full 4 seasons where you have extreme temperatures, you can tailor those, and you will likely need to tailor those settings on the valves to give you the proper sort of control over the door. Okay, so that's what that will do there for you. When you first install it, when you first install the closer, be very gentle and gingerly when you open the door. Just let it close. Begin to make your adjustments. Make reasonable half-turn adjustments kind of thing, because you might hit a part of the valve where a quarter turn will produce a very drastic change in behavior. Cycle the door closer between every change at least 3 times. In my experience, you need to fully cycle the door closer. Don't ever push the door closer closed. You run the risk of damaging the valves in the closer, and let it just close it. And don't ever, and these are not staked valves. These valves you could literally unscrew and release all the oil unintentionally. Unscrewing them counterclockwise will open the valve and allow a faster operation. If you notice that you've got it turned and you no longer increase the speed of the operation, don't turn it counterclockwise any further, because the more you back that out, the closer the threads come to being undone, allowing the pressure of the oil to push that cap out, and you'll get oil everywhere, and then at that point the closer is finished. In terms of being able to put the oil back in the closer, it doesn't work that way. So, you know, be patient when you're testing it, is the moral of the story. There is no language there about you not unscrewing it too far, so word to the wise. You know, you only do that once in your career and then you'll learn. And the oil doesn't come out of the shirt, take it from me. So the name Global Door is synonymous with good quality commercial hardware. Hinges, door closers, lock sets, exit devices. There's a link below this video to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up not only all of the Global Door products that we sell, but a link to the manufacturer's website, along with a link to the full product catalog. If you're buying this closer and you've already verified that the size is what you need and it's for a small door, you're in good shape with this door closer. But if you're not positive about this center to center, stop. Check it before you buy it. For every one of these that exist, there are probably 100,000 of the common ones that do. Again, my name is Rich Howard. Any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you very much.